Summary of A Proof of Heaven, A Neurosurgeon's Journey into the Afterlife, by Eben Alexander. Proof of Heaven, A Neurosurgeon's Journey into the Afterlife is a personal and spiritual memoir written by Dr. Eben Alexander, a prominent neurosurgeon who recounts his own near-death experience, NDE, during a week-long coma caused by bacterial meningitis. The book delves into his extraordinary journey beyond the physical world and challenges the skeptical views he previously held about consciousness, spirituality, and the afterlife. Introduction. Dr. Eben Alexander begins by explaining his background as a neurosurgeon who adhered strictly to the scientific method and believed that consciousness was a byproduct of brain activity. As a man of science, he was skeptical of anything that suggested the existence of the supernatural or spiritual realms. He dismissed accounts of NDEs and afterlife experiences as the brain's hallucinatory response to trauma or oxygen deprivation. However, his views were irrevocably changed after a profound personal experience in 2008, when he slipped into a coma and had what he describes as a transformative journey through the afterlife. The illness. In the opening chapters, Dr. Alexander narrates the sudden onset of his illness. He explains that, out of nowhere, he contracted a rare and deadly form of bacterial meningitis caused by E. coli bacteria. The infection attacked his brain, leaving him in a deep coma with a slim chance of survival. The medical prognosis was grim, with doctors fearing that even if he did survive, he would be left in a severely debilitated state, unable to function normally. This is where the core of the narrative begins, as Dr. Alexander's consciousness embarks on a journey that he later interprets as evidence of the afterlife. Entering the afterlife, the earthworm's eye view. During his coma, Dr. Alexander claims that his consciousness did not fade into darkness, but instead entered a realm far beyond his previous understanding of reality. He begins his journey in a place he refers to as the earthworm's eye view. It was a dark, murky, and underground-like realm where he had no sense of time or self. He describes it as primitive, animalistic, and devoid of any human qualities. This stage of his journey is likened to a purgatorial state, in which he was confined to a low, rudimentary form of existence. However, even in this bleak state, he felt a profound sense of comfort and non-verbal connection to something greater than himself. Dr. Alexander writes that he was not alone, and although he could not communicate in the traditional sense, he sensed a presence that was guiding and protecting him throughout this experience. The gateway to the higher realm. Eventually, Dr. Alexander's consciousness transitioned from the earthworm's eye view to a higher, more ethereal realm, which he describes as being filled with immense light and beauty. This realm was vastly different from the dark, primitive stage he first entered. Here, he encountered what he describes as an angelic being, who served as his guide throughout the rest of his journey. This being communicated with him not through words, but through telepathic thought, and Dr. Alexander experienced feelings of unconditional love, acceptance, and peace that he had never felt before. As he moved deeper into this realm, he encountered a series of stunning landscapes that defied earthly logic or explanation. He described the environment as being hyperreal, with colors more vivid and sounds more harmonic than anything he had ever known in his waking life. He experienced the natural world in a way that went beyond human sensory perception, and he felt a deep connection to all living things. According to Dr. Alexander, this part of the journey solidified his understanding that everything in the universe is interconnected, and that love is the most fundamental force in existence. The core, ultimate reality. Dr. Alexander then found himself entering the core, which he describes as the innermost part of the afterlife. It was here that he felt the presence of what he refers to as the divine, a being of immense power, knowledge, and love. Although he never explicitly names this entity as God in the traditional religious sense, he suggests that this is the ultimate source of creation and existence. The presence of this divine entity was overwhelming, but instead of fear, Dr. Alexander felt only love and understanding. In the core, time and space no longer had any meaning. He felt that he could access all knowledge and that every question he had ever pondered could be answered instantaneously. He also describes how, in this state, he realized that earthly life and suffering were necessary parts of a larger, more complex system designed to foster growth and learning. He was told that everything happens for a reason and that human life is only a temporary phase of existence. Returning to Earth. After what felt like an eternity in this blissful realm, Dr. Alexander was told by his guide that he had to return to his earthly body. Initially, he resisted, as he felt that this higher realm was his true home and that returning to his physical existence would be like leaving paradise. However, he understood that his time in the afterlife was not permanent, and he was sent back to his body with a newfound understanding of the purpose of life and consciousness. Dr. Alexander awoke from his coma after 7 days, much to the astonishment of his doctors and family. Not only did he survive, but he made a complete recovery, which was considered miraculous given the severity of his illness. His memories of the afterlife were vivid and clear, and he was left with a deep sense of purpose and a desire to share his experience with the world. Science and Spirituality, a New Perspective. In the latter chapters of the book, Dr. Alexander grapples with reconciling his scientific background with the profound spiritual experience he had during his coma. He admits that prior to his illness, he was a materialist who believed that consciousness was a product of brain activity and that there was no existence beyond death. However, his NDE completely shattered these beliefs. He now believes that consciousness exists independently of the brain and that the afterlife is a real, tangible experience that awaits everyone after death. Dr. Alexander argues that the brain is not the source of consciousness, but rather a filter that limits our perception of reality while we are alive. He posits that during his coma, the infection effectively shut down his brain's filtering mechanisms, allowing his consciousness to access higher realms of existence. He also points to emerging scientific theories in quantum mechanics and consciousness studies to support his claims, suggesting that science is beginning to catch up with spiritual truths. Criticism and controversy. Since its publication, Proof of Heaven has sparked widespread interest and debate. Many readers have found comfort and validation in Dr. Alexander's account, especially those who have had similar experiences or who believe in the existence of an afterlife. However, the book has also faced criticism from skeptics and members of the scientific community who argue that NDEs can be explained by natural processes in the brain, such as hallucinations caused by oxygen deprivation. Dr. Alexander addresses these criticisms in the book, acknowledging that his experience is difficult to prove using traditional scientific methods. However, he remains firm in his belief that his NDE was real and that it offers valuable insights into the nature of consciousness and existence. Conclusion. Proof of Heaven is a compelling and deeply personal account of a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife. Dr. Eben Alexander's transformation from a skeptic to a believer in the existence of a higher realm challenges conventional scientific views about consciousness and the afterlife. Through his story, he offers readers a message of hope, love, and interconnectedness, suggesting that life does not end with death, but continues in a realm of infinite beauty and understanding.